Hello guys, today we are covering 6.8 geometric sequences. So let's define what that is so we know what it is first off. Okay, so a geometric sequence is a sequence of numbers in which the ratio R remains constant. Constant, which means the same. Now, what is that common ratio? The way we figure that out is it is found by dividing each term by its previous term. So let's see what that means. Okay, so let's look at number one. In order to be able to determine, so we've got to determine if it's geometric or not. So it's going to be a yes or no answer. If it's a yes, we have to find what the common ratio is. Well, in order to figure this out, we have to take, like, I've got to start with, do the term divided by the previous. Well, this is the first term. It doesn't have a previous term, so I can't use this one. I'm starting with the 10, so I'm going to do 10 divided by 2. That equals 5. 50 divided by 10. That equals 5. 250 divided by 50. That equals 5. Notice they're all equal to 5. Since they are all the same ratio, it's got a constant ratio because they're the same, then this is a geometric sequence. So my answer is yes. And my common ratio is 5. Okay, if you need to hear that explanation again, go ahead and press pause and listen to it again. All right, next problem. So we go through, and yes, you have to show this work right here. I know that you can do it in the head and press it in the calculator, but type it in the calculator, you got to write it before you type it. So here we're going to have 18 divided by 6, that's 3. 24 divided by 18, well, I know it doesn't go to it evenly. So this is going to simplify. 6 goes into 24 4 times, 6 goes into 18 3 times. Oh, those are not the same. They are not the same, so this is a no. When I look at these, the two ratios are different, so this one is a no. I don't have to go any further. Okay. Number 5. One thing that I do notice that it alternates positive, negative, positive, negative. If it alternates positive, negative, I know right off that my ratio would be negative. Okay. So if alternates positive, negative, then R equals negative number. Okay. If it's a ratio, if it's a geometric sequence, we got to find that out first. Okay. So I'm going to have negative 40 over 80. That's going to simplify to negative 1/2. Then I have 20 over negative 40. So that's going to be 1 over negative 2. But remember, it really doesn't matter where the negative is. It could be in the top or the bottom, just not both. So those are technically the same. So then I have negative 10. There's not an equal sign there, Kimberly. So we have negative 10 over 20, which is negative 1/2. All of these are the same. So this is a yes, and my R is negative 1/2. Or you could have negative 0.5. Both are correct. Okay. Now we're looking at, we want to continue the sequence. Well, in order to continue the sequence, you have to find the ratio. So first, find what R equals. That's what you have to do first. So I'm going to do negative 21 over 7, and I'm going to find out that that is negative 3. I don't have to do all of them because it already tells me that it is a geometric sequence. I already know it is, so I'm just doing one to find out what my R is. Now that I have what my ratio is, I'm going to take the 63 and I'm going to multiply times the ratio, which is negative 3. So to do this, you multiply each term by R in order to do this. All right, so I've got, this is where I'm not doing that by hand. We got a calculator, 63 times 3. Oh, but wait a minute. And this is a negative, and we know because it alternates, but also when I do negative 23 divided by 7, that's a negative 3. So this is going to be a negative 189. Next one's going to be positive, and then this one's going to be negative. So now I'm doing 189 times negative 3. I don't know. That just is too many things going on right there. So I'm going to do times negative 3 times negative 3. So this is 567. And then we do times negative 3. Oops, I did something wrong. And this one is a negative 1701. Okay, next example. We're going to jump down to number 9. Okay, so again, I've got to find out what my ratio is first. So I have to do 4 over 8, which is going to be 1/2. So that means I'm multiplying 2 times 1/2, which is going to give me 1. And then I'm doing 1 times 1/2, which is going to be 1/2. And then I'm doing 1/2 times 1/2, which gives me 1/4 as my answers. All right. Again, if I'm rushing and you need to hear it again, pause it, rewind, and listen again. Or you can come up and ask me a question as well. Okay. Now we're going to get to where we're using a formula, okay, to be able to find like the 25th term or something like that. Okay. All right, here we go. So when we do that, we have our formula is A sub n equals A times A sub 1, sorry, A sub 1 times R raised to the n minus 1. And you're going to be like, what does all this represent? Okay. A sub 1 is the first term, 1 for first term. The R is the ratio. And the A sub n is your answer. That's the final term that you're finding, okay? And then the n is the term looking for. Okay, so if I'm looking for this one for number 11, first things first, I've got to find, we want to find so we need to write the rule and we have to find the 7th term. So first thing I got to do is I've got to figure out, I got to label my parts here. So I have A sub 1, what's the first term? That's 3. I've got to find out what does the R equal. Well, in order to do that, I have to do 9 over, I'm going to do 9 over 3. I'm writing too small. I can't really read it. 9 over 3, which is 3. So therefore, my ratio is 3. And then my n is 7. I'm looking for the 7th term. So A sub n, I've got to write my rule first, which means where I plug in the A sub 1 and the R. So I'm going to have 3 times 3 to the n minus 1. And next, I now plug in. So I'm going to have for the A sub 7, which is where I'm looking for the 7th term. That's where I plug in the 7. So now plug in 7. So I'm going to have 3 times 3 to the 7 minus 1. which is going to be 3 times 3 to the 6th, which that I'm going to punch into the handy dandy calculator. Put this where we can actually see what's going on here in the calculator at the same time. So I'm going to have, and I'm going to punch it in exactly like I see it. 3 times 3, caret button, rooftop button, raised to the 6, enter. So I get an answer of, so therefore, this means that 2,187 is the 7th term. Again, if you need to hear all of this explanation again, pause it, rewind, and listen up. All right, here we go. We're going to move to number 16. And I'm just trying to show variants of the different types of problems that you're going to have. So again, with this, we've got to find all of our parts here, okay? So we need to find a sub 1, r, and then we know that the n is going to be 7. So a sub 1 is 729. To find the r, that means I'm doing negative 243 over 729. Now you'd be like, wait a minute, how am I supposed to figure that out? The calculator can help you with this, okay? So in the calculator, I'm going to punch in, trying to get out of that glare right there, negative 243 divided by 729. Now, I want this fraction to be reduced. I don't want this necessarily as a decimal. I want it as the fraction, because not all decimals end, okay? Because if I actually do that division, I'm going to see, wait a minute, that's 0.33 repeating. If I know that that's 1/3, then I'm good. But if I don't know that that is, what you can do is you can hit the math button, okay? And the math button is right here, the word math. And I'm going to click math. And we want this to be a simplified fraction. So notice how 1 is highlighted for fraction. So we press enter, enter. So it's going to change that decimal to the fraction, which tells me that my r is negative 1/3. Now I can plug into, I'll write my rule. A sub n equals 729 times, I'm going to put this fraction in parentheses, negative 1/3, because when you're using the calculator, you want to put everything in parentheses. N minus 1. So there's my rule. And now we do the next step. So now I'm finding the 7th term. So this is a sub 7, excuse me, equals 729 times negative 1/3 raised to the 7 minus 1. So we have 729 times negative 1/3 raised to the 6th. And we punch that into the calculator exactly as it is. So I have 729, open parentheses. Oops, you can't see what I'm typing. Negative 1 divided by 3, close parentheses, raised to the 6. Enter. And we end up with 1. That is the 7th term. Again, re-listen if you need another explanation. Okay, moving on down to this application problem. Okay, so the table below shows a car's value for 3 years. That's talking about time after it is purchased. Write a rule to represent the car's depreciation. Okay, so That means it's going to be going down, which means I should probably end up with something that's less than 1, or not necessarily less than 1. Sorry. It's just going to be going down in value. So we want to know a rule to write. Okay, so that means I'm using my formula of a sub n equals a sub 1 times r raised to the n minus 1. Well, I got to figure out what my a sub 1 is. This right here, this is the first year, so therefore this is a sub 1, but I have to figure out what my r is. So to figure out the r, we're going to be doing 10,000 divided by 8,000. Well, first what I can notice right off, those extra zeros are going to go away, so therefore this can simplify to, oh, wait a minute, I flipped that wrong. Because remember, it's supposed to be, the previous one is on the bottom, so this should be flipped around. This should be 8,000 over 10,000. So this is going to be 4/5, because we're doing the second one on top of the first one. So my r is 4/5, so now I'm plugging in. So my rule is going to be a sub n equals, first term is 10,000 times 4/5 raised to the n minus 1. This is my rule. Now we want to know, well, what is the value after 10 years? 10 years, that's my n. This is n, because that means it's 10 terms. So that is my n. So now I plug in, and I'm going to have a sub 10 equals 10,000, open parentheses, 4/5 raised to the 10 minus 1, which is going to give me 10,000 raised to the 4/5. No, sorry, 10,000 times 4/5 raised to the 9. And we punch that in. You could actually straight punch this in without the subtraction as well. Okay, let's make sure we can see the calculator. So we have 10,000. Make sure I have enough zeros there. Yep. Open parentheses 4 divided by 5, close parentheses, raised to the 9. Enter. Now, we're talking about money here, so therefore we have to round to the correct decimal place. And we're talking about money, so we have to have our units. So our answer is $1,342.18, because we have to make sure that we round correctly. Okay, your assignment is to finish the classwork homework, the notes, and the classwork homework. Have a great day. Bye.